welcome to another edition of What's So Funny, the show that probes the brains, the minds, the psyches, and the brains of the people who make the funny. With tonight's guest, musical supergroup Mounties, currently patrolling the top of the charts. A trademark infringement charge from the RCMP must be coming soon. So, the What's So Funny Brain Trust has come up with some new name suggestions. 1, Lumberjacks. Very Canadian. 2, Canadian Bacon, for all you John Candy fans. Okay, 3, Supergroup. Sleazy and punny. How about number 4, Electric Fur? I like it. Number 5, Hot Hawksley. No. 6, my favorite, Hawksley Bays Trading Company. No, don't like it. How about just simply Transit Police? And now a man who lives for the mosh pit, your host and MC, Mr. Guy McPherson.
Thank you. Somebody did a lot of work on the intro this week.
Yeah, no.
Very well done.
That was really good.
These guys were
you weren't
really, really good, yeah.
We've got Mounties in studio. Steve Bays, Hawksley Workman, Ryan Dahle. It's a party in here. And
CFRO!
these guys were just jamming out to Hall & Oates that we were listening to before the show. Yeah.
The woman as well.
The woman as well. Ooh.
Steve, you were saying this is the first time the three of you have done radio together. Is that true now, or were you just saying that off air?
We've done like rock radio. We've done rock radio and stuff a few times. But it's not.
This
is our first
rock
podcast.
Radio, yeah.
And this will be our first recording of the three of us talking together. Maybe
it sort of feels like it's the first something together.
I think like we've done bits and bobs, but
I know that you were at the Peak earlier this week, and you know we changed frequencies earlier in the year, so you guys were mixed up. You went there thinking it was here.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
They swap frequencies. It's weird.
Yeah, they used to be 100.5. Now we are.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
Earlier in the year, yeah. But it's nice having you here. Now we got 3 guests, so we need to let our listeners in on your timbres, your voices, so they know who's talking for the whole hour. So Steve, you've been here 4 times before.
Is it 4?
4. Wow. Once in another group situation and 3 times on your own.
Wow.
Okay.
You asked me to co-host or to host it once, didn't you?
I did.
I thought you did.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then I couldn't do it, but I still want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think it will get really wild.
Well, we could pretend you're co-hosting right now, right? You could be co-hosting.
Yeah.
It's live on 100.5.
So that's the voice of Steve Bays. Steve, did you have a favorite pet growing up?
I wasn't allowed a pet. My mom wouldn't let me have one. She thought they were like really gross and dirty and stuff. And then she went out of town, and my dad got us a rabbit. And my cousin had a cat named Snuggles, so I was just like, oh, that's the only person I know who has a pet, so I just took that name. But it's a really bad name. So I stole it, and it's a horrible name, so I had a rabbit named Snuggles.
That is the voice of Steve Bays from Hot Heat and Fur Trade and now Mounties. Ryan Dahle from Age of Electric and Limb Lifter.
That's where I'm from. Yep.
That's where you're from. Yeah. That's where you grew up.
And you were in that band Regina, right?
So I'm from
Regina. So do you have a favorite teacher? We got to get your voice here for the listeners.
Oh, well, Mrs. Dennis, grade 5. She's cool.
Dennis?
Mrs. Dennis, yeah. She said, you haven't lived until you've been upside down in a kayak. So I still don't know what she means.
Have you ever been upside down in a kayak?
I haven't. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to zip line either. So I don't know. Doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Are you a bit of a coward?
Yep.
Yeah.
Straight coward, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Ryan's the toughest guy I know, actually.
Yeah, me too.
You're a coward too, Hawksley?
These guys are the nicest guys ever. They say things like that, but yeah.
You said me too. You're a coward too?
No, that I'm with Steve. That
Ryan is selective hearing.
He's as tough as it gets.
I appreciate these guys.
Yeah.
Just no zip lines or anything crazy like that.
Yep.
All right, so Ryan, and then Hawksley Workman, we got to get your voice here. You are from the Hawksley Workman. You don't lower yourself to be in bands with names.
Now he does.
I'm just me.
Now you do.
Well, when you get to, be in a rock band with the only two peaches in the whole that are worth eating. You know what I mean?
That's a lovely metaphor.
I like that.
So, your favorite TV show growing up?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm thinking the first thing that comes to mind is Cosby Show, but a lot of it was because that was at a time in my life when I was in a constant negotiation with my parents to try and find more time in the 24-hour news cycle that I could practice drums, and so the drum set was in the TV room, and I was allowed during Cosby Show to watch the show from the drum seat and then practice during the commercials. So,
Did you do rim shots on the jokes?
I didn't rim shot jokes. No, my younger brother, he hated that I had achieved this incredible diplomatic, this achievement in my house where I was able to play in the commercials, and he knew too that I would push it like any kid would, and so when I would know that I was on commercial 3, and it was like, okay, well, clearly we're heading back into Cosby, but I was still in the middle of a solo.
See, that's why you can squeeze fills,
right?
In, you know, you can like.
And so if I was drumming into Cosby, he would yell.
The only time I was allowed to eat a hoagie was during the Cosby Show. So.
Hoagie.
What was it about Bill Cosby that allowed your parents to just relax the rules?
I think it was a sexual energy thing.
I liked that Cliff and Claire were openly randy all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, even as a kid, it was like, okay, so my parents haven't talked to me about sex, but clearly something is randy here.
As soon as they get in the bedroom,
they get randy.
Cliff gave like that googly-eyed kind of glance.
I think we all learned a bit of like a playful sort of preamble to sex from Cliff, because he would be that guy who'd make it funny, like, oh, it was like, and it was never like lewd, but it was always, even as a kid, you know, they're suggesting the thing that nobody else talks about.
Well, there's all these kids too.
That's right.
They had a lot. Prolific.
There's all these videos of him in recent years online complaining about like if his shows aren't sold out, he'll go online and complain.
Really? About people not coming?
He'll just be like, why is nobody coming out to Nelson? Like, how often have I been in Nelson?
Steve doing voices. That's good. That sounds
if I was going to do a Cosby, I'd maybe put some effort into it. But the point is, he still has like a bit of an ego, which I think you're born with it.
The thing is that Springsteen doesn't sell at the hockey rinks anymore. He comes close, but even he like just kind of paying attention to the things that these kinds of icons, like even today when we were at the studio, you remember this kid who was coming up with this rap track comes out in the hallway and he's singing his track and he's like, it's private dancer, and it was like we went straight to the piano in the hallway at the studio and started playing, I'm a private dancer. He's like, whoa, are you guys doing like a remix of my track right out of the gate? I'm like, well, there's actually a song called Private Dancer. No. And it's like, well, who's it by? Oh, Tina Turner.
That.
Who?
Oh, wow.
Well, that's the thing is that...
I didn't know you
No. But what's wild is that I actually think that this new generation, this computer generation, this that we're living in the middle of a modern miracle that's almost unfathomably huge. And I think that kids, strangely, like when I was loving Michael Jackson in 1983... that was
platonically.
15 years removed from 1969, 17 years removed from 1967 or thereabouts. So we're talking the proximity of time for enjoyment of that pop cultural product, a handful of years virtually from the 60s. Whereas now kids can kind of can grow up and be a part of the cultural atmosphere and not know Tina Turner did Private Dancer.
Yeah.
It's also a testament to that we're a bit older, right?
And I just took it as that's just the generation is a bit more narcissistic. You know, you're walking down the hall humming a song and people start singing along and they're instantly like, oh, you remixing my shit, bro?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, but also these days, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly know music from before I was born. Like, why can you only know about what's happening?
Well, it was easier to educate ourselves because there's a stopping point. Right now, it's just too much. Like, if you were born today, imagine the movies you'd have to backlog. It would be really impossible.
Point.
So the amount of music since you were born is crazy amount.
That is true.
I think it's it's my oldest.
There's just too much now.
My oldest nephew is a kid who's super clever, and my brother has very dutifully introduced him to the stuff you need to know: Hendrix, Zeppelin, even Michael Jackson, Thriller, all that stuff.
Tina Turner.
Hall and Oates.
LFO.
He's feeling the power, and I don't know why I feel like in culture we need to be reverential, just to be always just glibly sort of surfing through the thing that, I don't know. We didn't grow up with the internet, so for me, the passing down of a record from your dad or something was an important moment, like learning how to shave.
And you would listen to the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Not just, here's my favorite track, I'm just going to listen to
Well, I
that.
wish I could say my dad was like that. My dad he loved singles and hated albums, so I did only listen to the one thing, yeah.
I had a dinner with my parents when they were in town recently, and in the restaurant, Lady Gaga came on, and my mom started singing along as she was checking her cell phone and her tablet at once after she had asked for the Wi-Fi password from the waitress. I was like,
she's moving.
I was like, she's.
But your dad made you call his new woman mom, so.
Right.
See, but you embrace technology.
She is, yeah. She was 17, so I guess it makes sense that she would have a grasp on this kind of stuff.
That's awful. I'm sorry. I'll stop being that guy.
You led me down that path. I love you.
I'm taking mom to T-ball.
I love you, real mom.
And then all winter ring out. I'm going to take mom.
You guys,
I've been waiting on you.
We have Mounties in studio. So I want to say the Mounties, but Steve says no. I got to just say Mounties, right?
Yeah.
Got Mounties in studio. Hawksley Workman, Steve Bays, Ryan Dahle, the supergroup. Kevin mentioned that. Everyone's saying that. The media. Supergroup. How are things in the supergroup business?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
24/7.
When you guys,
No, I don't know.
when you guys came together, you just came together because you liked each other and you wanted to play. But the idea isn't, let's make a supergroup.
Well, Steve and I have never been in bands that weren't supergroups, really.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I had one once.
And Hawk is
called
a supergroup on his own.
Self-contained.
Self-contained
Well,
supergroup.
I had one called Dugan's Diary, and it definitely was not a supergroup. So just
It's people from all over
before I
Victoria.
get called out, yeah, not everything's been super.
But what's amazing is that, so when we kind of first met 4 or 5 years ago, I was in a place in my life where I had my job, and I sing these songs and I write these songs, and I love it. But I'm also, rock and roll is a funny and special place. It allows you to sort of remain a child for a little bit longer than you ought to. And when you're a child, your tendency is to dream and to dream a little bit big. And when I met these guys, we had a few glasses of wine, and we made that sort of few glasses of wine declaration. You can imagine the booze spilling with the chalices smashing in the sky. And we were going to get together and be a band. And then we were. And it's the strangest and most magical thing for me. We were just talking about it as we were driving. It's just my friendship with these guys is something I didn't expect to come and hit me in my middle age. At middle age, I think you're supposed to your life's sorted, right? And now you're on a maintenance mode. You know what I'm saying? It's oh, I get it. Life is boom. Now I just want to make sure I keep the 3 balls I've been handed. I just got to keep juggling those until I'm done. Whereas, so I'm 39 and I meet these guys, and now I'm in a band with them that is the most euphoric musical experience I've had in 10, 15 years.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
It's not a question.
But what are you drawing that from? Just from jamming together in the studio, or you've played together publicly a few times now, right? Mm. So, at what point were you going, this is just
honestly
the best?
It was within the first day we were playing, and I have a tendency, and it's kind of my producer hat comes with a guy who's like a 24-hour a day cheerleader. So we had recorded some stuff, and I remember listening, and after some wines going, I have a feeling this is beyond excellent. The thing is that music, and when you're in the music business, and we all have been, anybody can jump in and stop me if you think that you've heard this one before, but it's a place that takes the kindest, most naive souls and jades them in 24 hours. It can run a planer right over a pristine, like a cream-like skin, and it can just scrape it off right down to your ugliness. And somehow the antidote to it all is a handful of like these keen bros who are just these serious geniuses, and we sit and play, and all it is pure joy. And I don't know how else to describe it. Every interview we've been doing about this band, I can't help but sound like a giddy schoolboy, because I didn't know, like I said earlier, that you'd be 39 years old and you get to meet A, two guys who you knew were going to be your friends till you died, and B, two guys that you somehow, the three of you, like bring a key that came on a chain, and like you put and I don't, am I making any sense?
You are. Okay. Although I think of, the Beatles, when they started, they probably thought they were going to be friends till they died too. Doesn't every band end in?
I don't know though. I've done a lot of early Beatles recon.
Oh yeah.
I think it was John Lennon was a dick even right off the bat.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
So they knew that going in.
They were desperate just to learn what a B7 looked like on a guitar, and they were willing to make compromises
to find
it. But I think for the Beatles, like, it was kind of their first time around. I think part of the other thing
you guys have been around the block.
Well, we can all agree that like we all took a good charge at the music business once in our lives, and for some strange reason we've all got a second chance at it. Not that I was sitting around waiting for a lottery ticket, because I wasn't. I was enjoying the thing I did. But
I was almost actually actively avoiding it, to be honest. I had no interest in starting a new band whatsoever.
And getting out on stage and touring.
Yeah,
because I know you're a bit of a homebody. Homebody. Yeah, homebody. That's it.
Well, I like to work in the studio, and I toured for 12 years, 15 years straight, something like that. And I was not excited to. Whereas with this band, I'm dying to hit the road.
Yeah,
it's weird.
So when the alcohol was flowing, as it apparently does a lot, and you guys said one day we're going to make a band. So one of you had to be the guy who said, "Okay, we're doing this."
Hawk, for sure.
I'm
gonna give him credit, because he just said, "Well, we're gonna put it in the calendar," and then we thought, "Well, okay, we'll put it in the calendar, and we'll get together, and we'll write some songs, and it'll be productive in some way, and it'll go some, the song will happen here, and maybe we'll write this song for this person, or maybe Steve will use this, or I'll use that, or Hawk will use this."
Uh-huh.
But we didn't believe Hawk when he said, "Oh, no, it's gonna be a band. It's gonna be a band," and then. It was a band. We just had to keep, he kept saying it, so we had to.
Once it's in the calendar, and once you have other people relying on you, then you got to do your part, I guess.
In the calendar, it meant that he booked a flight. It's in there. He's going to be here for a week, so we got to do something. So, and then when you're sitting in a room with these dudes, and they write songs in a split second, you start recording, right? So and when you're done, the end of the day, you're saying, well, what should we do with these, 5 songs we recorded today, and that goes on for 7 days. You're kind of like, well, I guess it is a band. I mean, what would you do with that material, right? It would take too long to distribute it to the right person or whatever, to figure out what you're going to do with these songs. So it's kind of like, well, it already sounds good the way it is. A lot of the songs are, right off the floor. Like they're just jammed out of nowhere.
But you add layers to it, don't you?
Yeah, but the one rule that we had was arrive with no ideas. Arrive empty-handed was the idea.
But because arrive having eaten.
Arrive having eaten. Yeah. That's a
live and learn.
That's a kids in the hall.
That's a. Oh, is it? Is it kids in the hall?
Yeah, there's like Herman Menderchuk. It was his band, and they made a rule like. That you had to arrive having eaten, which is funny.
I thought it was Doug from the Oates, because I hear he'd always say that.
Because so we arrived having eaten the other day, and it totally threw you off. You're like,
because I hadn't eaten.
Yeah, the whole day was screwed.
You're grumpy. I appreciate you throwing in a comedy reference. That's good.
Well, I'm just trying to supply some hashtags.
Kids in the hall.
Well, wait. I mean, if we were going to talk. It's funny because as musicians, when you do interviews, you always get asked about your influences and the things that were important to you musically growing up. And I was saying this to Steve just the other night, because my dad, I realized, you know how once you get a little bit older, like the kaleidoscope of how you were brought up starts to kind of reveal itself in a more perceptible way. It's not just this like mosaic of insanity that is just a noise. You start to be able to decipher it. And so I look back, and my dad was a guy who valued people who were funny at work. He'd come home. It wasn't like Jim is morally righteous or Jim did a good deed. Jim is a funny guy. And that's how Jim got status within our household when my dad was talking to him. Why am I talking about this? What was I talking about?
It was a great point, though. I was
about influences. You get asked about influences.
Thank you very much.
So I was listening.
What's wild to me is that a good chunk of my heroes as a teenager were comedians, whether it was Gary Larson or David Letterman or the Kids in the Hall. For me, Bruce McCullough colored the way my brother and I approached and dealt with the world. That sort of austere post-irony or whatever that was he was doing, I had never seen, my brother had never seen, nobody I felt like had ever seen. I also got to witness in some ways too this bizarre miracle called Seinfeld, which I was at an age too where I could sort of watch how it affected people, and language morphed almost overnight with Seinfeld. And I remember seeing Seinfeld on Letterman long before the Seinfeld TV show, and I actually memorized his skit, because even as a kid in grade 10 or whatever I was when I saw it, I was like, this is like nothing I've ever seen, and I know there's a code to be cracked here, and I'm not going to crack it unless I memorize it. And it had the gags in it about the socks in the dryer, and like it was his early stuff.
Was it the one about how you can't you just can't slam a wireless phone?
Well, we all take for granted that, like, what's with the thing that's but that came from a place in my lifetime, and that was like people's language and approach to language and the setups of their own sort of like, I don't know, it's very heavy.
Yeah. I mean, over time things become hacked because everybody copies it, but at the time when it first comes out, yeah, exactly. And there was nothing trite about it.
And there was so much, I guess, comedy that was such a big part of my life that I always want to try to acknowledge that music gave a window into parts of life that I was, too young to have experienced and was excited to get a handle on. But comedy too, especially with Letterman, like...
I love Letterman.
Yeah. As a teenager... Because you're being put through the grinder as a teenager, right? You're being put into school, and you're put in school so that you're a good little worker bee for the system, and you don't ask questions. But with comedians, that's all they did was question, protocol and question status quo. And as a teenager, all you're being told that all of your outbursts, all of your emotionality is going against status quo. And if you wouldn't mind just keeping it bloody contained, you're going to be a much more productive part of the family. But then you watch a Letterman, or you watch a Bruce McCullough, or you watch a Dave Foley, or you watch any of these, and it's like, okay, there is questions, and they are valid, and they are being asked, and it's entertaining. Like, clearly life... and trying to understand life, it's way out of our grasp. But fuck, like Bruce McCullough seems to have life all wrapped up in one like glib little like cheeky little facial expression.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are asked all the time, what are your influences? And you're always thinking, I guess, musical, but anything can influence your music, right? Whether it's a sunset or a comedian or whatever. But how does it influence? How does it inform your music? That's a very deep question.
Hawksley and I jog every day.
Really?
We talk about comedy a lot.
Supposed to say run, not jog.
Jog? Oh, is jog not PC?
Oh, no, it's fine. It's just sort of more...
Slower?
Yeah, slower. Oh. Yeah. Oh. You don't sound as serious.
We do jog.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're like, look at that.
If you're talking while you're running, then you are jogging.
Yeah.
So what do you talk about?
It's an extremely slow sprint.
Okay.
Well, I think we were talking about how both our dads were funny, but they didn't know it, but they kind of did, but they didn't know if other people thought of them as funny.
But they valued humor in other people.
Like my dad is like a really funny guy, but it only dawned on me recently that he might know that other people find him funny.
Oh yeah, you know, as a kid you don't know that.
Yeah, you don't know. You just kind of assume he's like accidentally funny, which you just shuffle into the, well, that's just because he's a goof category, because you associate him with embarrassing you.
Dad humor, kind of stuff.
But then you realize, oh, actually, no.
There's a lot of pressure if you know that people think you're funny, right? All of a sudden, there's like a different pressure.
Right, yeah. I just assumed,
funny guy.
I just assumed he didn't know he was funny and he was accidentally funny. But the other day I was like, I think he knows what he's doing here, actually.
Yeah, he's planning this.
I know. So I've heard people say, oh, your dad was so funny. And I said, I had no idea. Like it just didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
I just thought, I wouldn't, that was never an adjective I would have used.
Right, yeah.
And my reality is that we grew up super rural, and I lived on a very sort of, there was this brief stretch of road where like a cluster of houses got built. And amongst those houses, my dad was revered, like, oh, there he is. He's the funny guy. Here he comes, Mr. Funny.
Oh, yeah.
So like I grew up under the, like, part of my family's mythology is that my dad was the local funny guy. And so it was kind of like part of our thing. And I was saying this to you today because it's funny growing up. And it's true when my dad would come home and would speak of his coworkers because he would talk about who was funny. And when you start to begin to accumulate this idea of human value, and that obviously everything comes from your parents because like they're the adults you grew up around and you take all of your sort of social cues from them. Like to this day, I realize just how informed that I was by that. Like
it would be like if all of a sudden you were hanging out jogging with me and then you were like, and then I spent 20 years hanging out with Guy McPherson and he tucked me into bed every day and cracked jokes around me for 20 years. It's like, I wonder if that influenced maybe you a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it's
Just like that.
And to this day, like my dad is just, it's funny because my younger brother is one of the funniest people I know. And he and I can still sit around and listen to my dad yak garbage, and it is hilarious. I don't understand.
Oh, that's
it.
good.
Wow.
Yeah,
is he a musician? The younger brother?
He plays music really well. My younger brother is a bit of a juggernaut. Like he's got George Clooney good looks, and he married his high school sweetheart, who was also like the prettiest girl in school, and like his whole deal is loaded. So it's always hard to like factor him into the pie graph because it's like he throws the whole like the percentiles off. It's like, oh come on, like this like devastatingly beautiful
Good at
plus
everything.
he's super funny plus it's like oh, okay, like that doesn't add a fair like swing to the pitch, you know.
But your dad was musical, you were about to say.
Yeah. My dad's super musical.
It's a drummer, right?
Drummer and a music lover.
Ah, this explains the drums in the living room.
Yeah, that's right.
guess.
Drums were in my house since I was born.
What kind of music? Like, did he do it was he a hobbyist?
He was a hobbyist who could have been a pro.
Was he in bands?
He was in bands as a kid in Ajax, Ontario. The thing is my dad also was a British sports car enthusiast, and he sold his beloved drum set as a teenager for an Austin Healey. So his days of like, I think he bet on a hot car for chicks as opposed to like playing in a rock band. He made an early bet that a hot car was his future.
Did it pay off?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does he still have that hot car?
Nope.
Hot chick?
What was the hot car at the time?
That was the Austin Healey.
Oh, okay. So that was his one hot car.
That was, and he still talks about it. Like,
No,
Ryan.
it wasn't like a Volvo 242 or.
I had one of those at 2.
Yeah, that was my first and only hot car.
Any funny people in your family?
Yeah, my brother Kurt and my dad.
Well, there you go. The
My
three
dad
of
was
you.
super, super funny.
Funny dads.
Yeah. Everyone talks about that. But I didn't want to chime in like, my dad was funny too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was incredibly
But clearly your dad was funnier than their dads.
Well, I don't
Could he
know.
beat up our dads?
That, I don't know. Not sure. Probably.
Yeah, well, musicians are notoriously funny. Even if they're serious musicians, they've all got sort of a warped or a dark sense of humor, right? Is that
My brother's really funny. Yeah, I think that there's something that goes along with comedy and music.
your brother's a musician?
Yeah, he plays
that's
drums,
right,
yeah.
of course.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Kurt's not just. We're talking about your Kurt.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he's he's one of the most important drummers, at least in Canada. Like it has been for such a long time.
He would love that you said that.
And he's in New Pornographers?
Yep.
He's a monster. It's
And
ridiculous.
so are you.
Well, it's just ridiculous.
You should see this.
Kevin's looking at me like, all right, cut to commercial break. Oh, shit, we don't have commercials. God damn it.
What is it, Kevin?
He's got some more names for us, right, Kevin?
Nothing. I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, so when you're Mounties and you're performing, because Hawksley, you play like a bunch of instruments, right? But you're the drummer in the band here. And that's your first instrument,
First
right?
instrument.
You wanted to be a session drummer.
Yep.
Like on other people's albums. Jingles too, or just anything?
As a kid, I used to, on the VCR, I would record commercials. I would notate the drum parts, and then I would play them back along on the drums, pretending that I was the guy who had been called into the session to play the drums.
So you knew what commercials were going to come up during that Cosby show. You had an idea that the Tide commercial.
I just knew that I had
was
to
in
like it was a
6/8.
part I was playing, and I just had this really romantic image of the LA session drummer scene. It really made me crazy.
But did you ever do it?
No, drummers were made obsolete by the time I was an adult.
They were made
Oh,
up,
that's
so,
true. Yeah, the drum machine. So you're playing drums in Mountie. So if we go see you guys at the Commodore in a couple weeks,
No,
all right?
not if you go.
Oh, I'm
see.
going for sure.
When you go.
You're on the drums, Hawksley.
Yep.
Ryan, you're on the guitar.
Yep.
Steve, you're on the Atari 2600.
Oh, the ARP 2600, right. I emulate it live.
He does have an ARP, though. We use an ARP a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know what an ARP is.
I have about a dozen keyboards
ARP
I
is a
use.
keyboard.
But
Just sounds like an old video game. On a
the
lot of
ARP
songs.
doesn't stay in tune is the only problem, so you have to... You can
you're
use it
doing-
on recordings.
Yeah, you're doing keys. And will there be other musicians?
Yeah, we got Parker Bosley playing bass.
Oh, really?
He's amazing.
So the four of you.
He makes,
At a couple points, there's 6 people.
Yeah.
and then we have Kerry Pratt from a band called Prairie Cat. Maybe play Prairie Cat on the station once in a while.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, go check out Prairie Cat. And he
With
plays
Kerry
percussion.
Pat?
Prairie Cat.
No, what's the name of the person?
Kerry Pratt.
Carrie Pratt, Prairie Cat.
That's right, yeah.
All right.
I wonder if he knows there's a correlation
Yeah,
there.
I wonder. That's probably not.
Yeah.
I just brought that up.
He's a really good buddy. And I've mixed a bunch of records and produced a couple records for him. So he was just an amazing percussion guy. So he plays all the percussion with us live.
We're going to listen to a track from Thrash Rock Legacy, which is number 1 on the iTunes chart in Canada all week. You know who's number 2?
Beatles.
Better than Ezra.
Beatles.
I know.
What? Beatles.
You know what? McCartney
I gotta get a
keeps trying.
screenshot.
Keeps trying. So embarrassing.
What about Nirvana Nevermind? Where is that?
Way down. Like
What kind of chart are we on where...
the iTunes rock charts specifically.
I love that somehow we ended up on a chart that is...
We're in competition with the Beatles, and
Beatles.
we're kicking their ass. Like whatever.
Some bizarre chart.
Oh, yeah, all dead musicians.
Oh, if Ringo's fills were so weak.
You,
Yeah, if David Grohl wasn't phoning it in so bad.
So we mentioned Hall & Oates earlier. You guys have a song on the album called Hall & Oates. Why?
Well, originally it started out as I don't know, the concept was, you want solid, great things from a person, but all you get is Hall & Oates. But they both love Hall & Oates. I don't mind Hall & Oates.
You hate them.
Do you at least,
I don't like them a
do you
lot.
at least
I
like
don't like
them
'em. You're right.
ironically?
I don't know what I feel about them.
I love such a Canadian way of putting hatred. I don't like them a lot.
I don't like them a lot. No.
What's funny when we head into the we jam and it's a half an hour, it's an hour, whatever, and then we go back and we mine our jam for like the potential song bits, and then we find the song bits, And there's the three of us get like these turn into these lusty wolves to be the first guy to jam a vocal vibe out on a new track. And there's just something about hanging out with these guys where it's competitive, but it's not like egoistic. Like we're all like super champs for all the other guys, but like I still want to be the first guy with the lyric in the song. And I remember singing this Hall & Oates thing, thinking it was either gonna bring major thumbs up or bring major thumbs down. And Steve was like, love it. And Rob was like, hate it. And I was like, no, trust me.
2 out of 3.
It's totally hilarious to sing a song called Hall & Oates. My dad was also a massive Hall & Oates fan and went to see Hall & Oates on the H2O album tour at the Kingswood Theatre and at Canada's Wonderland, and brought home an H2O muscle shirt that to this day I think back, because even like we're talking about we're making merch for the tour and stuff. So John Oates apparently wore this muscle shirt on stage, the swag or the merch muscle shirt, and my dad was like, the big thing he couldn't wait to tell me, his oldest son, the one who would get it the most, that the muscle shirt he brought home from the concert was the same one that John Oates wore. And somehow, like, my dad was tricked by that. It was like, you know what I mean?
So wear your own merch, right?
Right.
Only Iron Maiden gets away with that, right?
Though, I got it, and then, but as an adult, I still think back and I go, are you really allowed to wear your own merch?
I did it once. Like there was one night where we did it all as kind of a joke, and we sold
more.
We sold a bunch more t-shirts.
But so just something to consider for the tour.
You can't really do it unless
Fugazi doesn't have the option of wearing their own merch, do they? Because they don't have merch.
Is that their thing? They don't do merch?
No, I don't.
I don't blame them. It's a pain. I hate merch, but I love it that we have merch, and I love that we're gonna sell it proudly.
I wish it just had a more elegant name. I don't like rolling into a venue going like, geez, I hope the fans buy merch. It sounds like, geez, I hope they buy dirt and it like,
I know,
and don't realize that it's only dirt. It's like, why can't they buy something beautiful? Like,
I think I started hating it when it got taken away from me. Like in the beginning, it was your buddy has a printing press and you're doing buttons,
which is how we're operating currently.
Yeah, we're like we're getting getting like people we know to print it, and the buttons were like it's right across the street from the studio, and
our
it's
friend
like
Craig from Bang On.
Yeah, and the 6-cent printing press for the buttons.
6-cent press for all your button needs.
Yep. And it just feels really tangible, and it's like I know we're gonna be selling it out of a backpack, and. But then once like a website takes over and a corporation takes over, and it's like, oh, it turns out we're selling your stickers in Hot Topic. It's then you start calling it merch. Is it dirty?
It's rock and rollers, like, and again, like we talk about this a lot. Like, there's certain dogmas that we're trying to adapt to. Is as a band, it's like we all hate getting our picture taken, and we all hate being in videos and stuff. Even though we have done photos and have done a video, but it's things like this whole merch deal where it's like, okay, the first time around, it was fun in the beginning and it started to feel dirty near the end. It's like, how can we mitigate this whole dirty thing? Because like, there's so much dirty, like cash grabbery awfulness in rock and roll. It's like, well, fuck, I would really like to like maintain some element of a moral center, but still selling t-shirts and all this stuff that you have to do in order to pay your bills, but I just don't want it to seem so like
them. Like you want your new fans to like have something. Like I know I want to have a T-shirt of the band I like. And also when you say it's like, oh, I hate doing photos, hate doing videos, it's true, but it's not like world's smallest fiddle. It's like I'd rather be playing music than worrying about like the in between bit. So it's not like,
well, that's when you have the other people coming in and taking care of it for you. That's when it feels dirty, though.
I know, that's the problem. So
it's like catch-22.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you show up to do the video. Like shooting a video on our own was how we started, because it was so really fun. Because you can just do it yourself. You can make a video on your own, and it's really great and fun. But it's the thing that you don't like about it is when you become like when you go to the set, and then there's all these people like kind of making everything stiff and strange.
I've basically realized it's only fun if you just do everything yourself, unfortunately. But you can't do it all yourself, but you can at least try and do as much yourself as possible.
It's totally true, and I've rediscovered that with this band. Like the more craft elements that there are in this, because to be honest, the music business used to be a major player on on the entertainment horizon. It's been eclipsed in such an embarrassing way by video games, movies, and all sorts of other things like
Porno.
Probably as musicians, like
It's true.
Well,
I meant just in terms of numbers.
accessibility.
Video
Yeah.
games and porno
Yeah.
sell way more than the movie industry, and then the music industry is like not even a blip.
where it used to be.
In terms
It's because there's no value to music anymore. It's zero value. It's like free, right? Music is
Oh,
free. It should
because
be
you
free.
don't. Nobody's going out and buying the albums.
I think it's always kind of been like that
I
in
bought
some ways.
your album this week.
Really?
I bought it.
Thank you.
$9.99.
That's awesome.
$9.99. Yes.
iTunes. Yeah. So, but yeah, a lot of people just get. Well, you guys
I mean,
were releasing songs streaming anyway online ahead of time.
But like when you buy it, you feel like it's kind of like giving to a charity or something, right? You know what I mean? Like you buy it, but it's like, well, I could get it for free, or like, or I could watch it on YouTube
I'm
or
doing the
whenever I
right
want to hear.
thing
But
here.
but you kind of feel like you're doing the
yeah.
right thing. It's like, well, I know these guys, and well, I want them to
true.
be able to eat.
And you know what, right? You bring up something that I start to get when I've had a few glasses of wine, which I have had. I start to become a real total asshole because when I read or hear people go like, "Hey man, buy the records, support Canadian music," I'm like, no, fuck you, don't buy my record. But if you want to buy an incredible record, then I've got one on offer. But I'm not interested in being supported.
Yeah,
it's like
Kevin doesn't like it either. You hear
it's
this in
so
comedy
dirty.
too. Come out and support it. No, we'll
like-
come because we enjoy it.
Exactly. Like the idea of being supported, I know that the three of us are making something that is extraordinary. And so I'm not interested in your support, but I am interested in you like fucking digging in and being a part of it,
Yeah.
being a part of the communal aspect of it. But this whole support vibe to me is, it dirties up art in such a big way.
It's a dirty, dirty business. We're going to get to that song now from your album called Hall & Oates, Ryan's favorite band.
Oh, I somehow knew that this topic
this
would
would come
come up with Ryan.
well,
Like on this podcast.
Just for the record, I think I was pretty supportive of the song until like a certain point when it's like, yeah, it's cool. Like I was just like,
Oh, wait.
like,
So, yeah, are you saying you're like,
we call the band Mounties. We might get, might get sued by the.
Who's Kevin talking to? He keeps picking up the phone. What is going on?
I like that old
girlfriend?
phone too.
It's girlfriend. So, do you think we should play another track?
Oh no, go ahead. I love this song.
Oh, you love
Oh
it.
no,
okay.
it turned out amazing in the end.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
great.
knew that somehow you would figure out that was Ryan's like Achilles heel.
I've got a knack. Hey, you guys should write a song called The Knack. They were a great band too.
They were.
We have in studio with us Ryan Dahle, Hawksley Workman, and Steve Bays, also known as Mounties. You're listening to What's So Funny on CFRO 100.5 FM. And here is their song called Hall & Oates. It's not Hall & Oates, it's Mounties.
You want to hear it now?
Anytime.
Kev's so
True pro.
Your one job.
Kevin is stoned.
It's over.
Oh, hey.
Yep.
Too bad.
He's got one job.
I was going to open the door for Steve when he comes back. I didn't
got
want him
one
to be
job.
locked out. That was Mounties singing Hall & Oates, and we've got Mounties here in studio.
What a weird life.
What?
Well, that we do this.
Yeah, I know.
So we drove down to East Van and we park and we come in the door. I don't know.
Now-
I got just, what the thing is that for me, I'm I tend towards misanthropy. And
yeah.
when I come into a situation where there's a bunch of weirdos in a building making radio in the middle of the night on a Sunday, all that operates in me is that the tired old factory that manufactures like human dreams and like authentic positivity, like those guys get like a whole new injection of spirit, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, this is incredible.
In a good way. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
It's like, are you joking? Like, this is what we like. The thing is that what's wonderful about radio is it's a forum for a naturalized storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
TV is fake. We all know it, except we're slowly but surely trying to tell ourselves that.
Except
we
the
have to believe it to
Osbournes,
be real.
right?
Well, this part of the storytelling, this what's going on here is like mega real, I reckon. So
It's very real.
it just feels
It's a little too real.
well. That's what I mean. Like it's like, hold it. Are you allowed to just be on the radio talking human talk? Like I thought I was supposed to like edit myself for good behavior so that I like sold more records or whatever.
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
We've been coaching him
That's
not to.
dirty. That's dirty when you do that.
I'll say those kind of things if you want.
Oh, cool. So I can be like wow, why is he so...
Yeah, like hey, smoke cigs.
Yeah, smoke cigs.
Just sold 10 records, so you guys owe me $66.
Another 2 days on top of the charts with that. You guys, rock stars, cool, hip.
Sorry?
Hey, no, that's what, what you talked about your dad.
Okay.
You talked about your dad doing like his two chances to be the hip guy who beat the chicks, right? Rock star or Cars, right? He chose Cars.
Yeah.
But you guys chose the rock star route, and you guys clearly sex symbols. What were you like in grade 6? Grade 6, like were your friends from grade 6? When they see you now, do they think, what the? These guys, what is
Well, he's dead now, so thanks, guy.
your one friend from grade 6?
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't have any friends.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. What were you like, in elementary school?
Who, me?
All of you. Yeah, Ryan.
What was I like? I don't remember what I was like.
No,
really.
because you've just taken on this new persona as
I got
rock
good
star.
marks, though.
Oh, well, that tells me a lot.
I never bought into the whole rock star thing. I don't know. I think I got into it for music.
What?
When you're really into ABBA, you don't really think about like rock star.
But there is
Were you?
like
I was super into ABBA, and
So you have good taste.
I don't know. Is that good?
Sure.
I mean, I also liked Iron Maiden at the same time, and Simon and Garfunkel and the Police and Blondie and XTC. But I don't know.
So, but you
and
were
the Bellany Brothers.
Were you in the band at school?
Nope.
No.
Well, you had to take band, so I took sax. But no, I was in my brother's band, my oldest brother Brad's band, at 15. So I spent like my 16th birthday was in a bar playing music with a Gibson Flying V.
Where was that?
That was in, you're not going to believe me, but it was in, no, you will believe this. It was in Fort Capel, Saskatchewan.
bullshit.
I don't believe that.
No, but I was going to say it was in Indian Head, Saskatchewan, and you wouldn't have believed that, right? Maybe.
No, I would believe that.
Yeah,
Totally.
If you've heard of that place, I don't know. But yeah, so
I haven't
then
heard of Fort Capel. So.
And then I played in a band called Ticket to Florida when I was still in high school, and we just travel all around the province and
Can
play.
we use that name?
Which one?
Ticket to Florida?
Yeah, we could. Yeah,
That would be a good one.
For a song title or something.
yeah. It was.
Write it down.
Yeah, it's trust me, it's been written down.
It was fun, that band. And we go out on the weekends and we just make money and come back. Play barn dances and weddings and sociables and
Yeah, were your parents
socials. Is that what they're called? Socials, right? Yeah.
on board with it?
And
Or were they
barn
worried?
dan-
Ryan was born in the
Pardon me?
40s.
Were they worried?
Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom stayed up till I'd get home. She'd stay up till I'd arrive home in the morning. Well, she said she tried to sleep, but she wouldn't. I think.
Yeah, because so this was on the weekends, clearly, because you didn't drop out of school to do this.
No, so I'd be in school still, and some of my friends that had dropped out of school, they weren't making as much money as I would on the weekends because I make like $350 in Saskatchewan in the 40s. That was a lot of money.
No kidding.
At the sociables.
The socials.
I can't believe you were playing in
Barn
bars
dance.
at 16.
And barn dances. Yeah, I had my 16th birthday in a bar. But
Was that
they
allowed, or did you have to?
Yeah, they'd
sneak
make
it?
you have to leave you'd be able to play, and then you have to leave the club during
and
the,
I
in the
played.
middle. So I'd
I played in
that's
bars
the
as a
thing,
kid
yeah.
too, and I had to like.
How did
those
you
rules.
guys do that? Because I thought, isn't it illegal?
It's kind of illegal, but as long as I was just on the stage or whatever.
I think it'd probably be more illegal.
It's a small
in
town too, right?
In an
So-
urban center, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town, and I played in country and western bands, and it was like, yes, it was illegal, but if you squinted your eyes and sort of looked like you were trying
Gave
to
yourself some crow's feet.
But then we played a bigger achievement for me was like playing the high school when I was still in grade school. But my brother was 3 years older than me, so we had this band. You know, all these older people. I was always the youngest person in every band I was in until now.
Until now.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, I was super young, you know, in grade school or whatever. So what was I like in grade 6? Well, I was playing at the high school with leather pants on and a flying V. So I was early. I was early on music.
Did you
I was
have
like,
some photos of that?
yeah, there might be a photo.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know about that particular show, but my friend was there. My friend Corbett Fraz, who played in a band called the Roadhammers for a long time. It was like country band.
I've Googled Ryan, and there's some good photos.
Oh, is there? Yeah, I'm not sure if that
There's
show.
some good ones.
Yeah.
Anyways, Corbett was at that show,
Bon.
and he said that he started playing drums because of that show. Because my brother was one of those guys. He started playing drums, and like the next week, he was like the best drummer I'd ever seen. Like,
Really?
yeah. So I don't know. He was natural for sure.
We should have Kurt. Maybe text him or something. Tell him to come down.
It's a couple blocks away.
Yeah. Come on in. Doors open. Steve, you weren't in the band or anything as a kid, were you? You took piano lessons, obviously.
I did. I did one day of band at school, and I was like, I got like 30 seconds of playtime about 45 minutes in, and it was so boring. I was like, why would anyone ever sign up for this?
On the piano?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seemed like the worst gig because there's 45 people in the room. Everyone gets 30 seconds, and chances are you'll blow it.
As you were sitting there waiting for you.
You just get so nervous. It's just sitting there building up nerves.
Yeah.
I met a guy named Austin Anderson, and he was super, super cool. And he taught
Your
me
age?
Yeah, he taught me when I was 12, taught me the pentatonic scale. And I'd been doing classical piano a little bit, but for 4 years, I guess, so kind of for a while. But
Conservatory.
yeah. And then he taught me the blues scale and was like, why are you doing classical? Like, you should listen to this record, and got me into the Stones, and then was like, you should be doing boogie-woogie.
Yeah.
That was his big advice when I was 12. So
Steve also grew up in the 40s.
yeah, I know. Apparently, boogie-woogie is the only like cool piano style. So
That's when you got into boogaloo.
yeah, back up boogaloo. So I got into boogie-woogie for a brief second.
And did you play at your school? Give a little concert?
No, I've never been a sit down and play for people kind of guy.
That's the one thing about this band, which is strange. You know, a lot of people that you see, they're like campfire guys, I always call it. You know, they sit around the campfires like, yeah, I'll play a couple songs for you.
Yeah.
I've never been into that at all.
I've
and
got
I just love
creep.
that you guys are not like that either. You guys have never been like,
Look at me.
sit around and
Yeah.
around the campfire guys. But
The thing that I was into was just I would like the community of the punk rock scene in Victoria. So I just was really into just going to shows. And
That's as you got a little older, though, right? High school?
well,
when
you
I
started
was-
promoting shows too, right?
when I was 12 is when I went to my first punk show.
Where was it?
It was in Victoria, and Nardwar was the first punk band I ever saw. He was in a band called the Goblins, and it was a two-piece band. It was keyboard and a drummer, and he played one song with a drill. It was like, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. And it was in like this dirty part of town in a kabuki cab warehouse, and the ceiling caved in, and it was Halloween, and I snuck out to be there, and it was like, okay, this is cool.
You know, Nardwar was a guest on this program, and I mention this every time Nardwar is brought up, but our man here, Kevin, was the first person to put Nardwar on the radio at UBC, where he still has a show.
Cool.
Is that right, Kevin?
Yes.
Even before he was named
But I'm not
Nardwar.
responsible for all the damage that he's done. So
Special K.
Can't,
That's why they call him Special K.
Hawksley Workman, you in grade 6. Now, you were playing the drums, we know, watching Cosby, and also in school bands?
Not school pop bands.
Like playing percussion, standing there playing the snare drum or the
I had a
timpani.
My public school music teacher. We had a new school, and this is back in the times. This goes back to before
The 40s.
we're all scared into social and economic austerity like we are now. But back then,
He's smart.
it was we had, the premier came and cut cut the ribbon at our new school, and everybody got a new shiny saxophone. And
Really?
oh yeah, it was amazing. And you got your picture taken with a saxophone, and
Did you play the sax?
We had to sleep with it. You got to lay with it, and then your dad takes a picture of you with it. That's half its own pillow, special pillow, so, which is weird. Because a special pillow has to be like sprayed down after every, because some kids had lice, so
Right.
which was weird. No, but honestly, I was really already like fully into music. Like this is a funny thing because Steve and I on our jogs we talk about life and how strange it is sometimes and how weird it is, and like. Like you know when you like my mom just got married to this new guy who we really dig, and he's got a son who's a super smart guy. And when we were hanging out, we were talking about because he's younger than me, and he's like, oh, he's trying to figure out his career path. And I always feel very like ineligible to comment on career paths because music was a thing that I did from such a young age that it wasn't like I got to be 17 and like stroke my chin and go, what am I going to do? Like music owned me from such a young age that there was never a choice. So imagine being in life and you never made a choice. Like, so here I am, I'm 39, I just turned 39 and I'm living the life I set out basically to live in some form or another back in grade 2 or 3. And so by grade 6, I already sort of knew what I think I was going to do. Like, I had known that I needed to really be a serious drummer. I needed to practice. And so in grade 6, I was on a 3-hour-a-day practice regime already.
Jeez.
And like just knowing that that's where it was going to
It's
go.
like you grew up in the Soviet Union. They
It was
said, this is what
self-imposed,
you're
though.
going to do.
It was an architecture
career.
of my own design. Like that was the thing. I even look back and go, it was an insanity that I can't explain in my adulthood at all because I was so consumed that it doesn't make any sense to me.
I was the
anymore.
same way. Yeah, I was the same way.
Wow.
Starting.
3 hours a day.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
Because as
fingers
soon
are
as I get home from school until I fell asleep, and then
no homework.
I had good grades until about grade 10.
Yeah.
We all were similar in that way, where we were all these like sort of super achievers until we realized that we were trying to achieve in a system that was a big fucking fib, and then it's like, and then we were all like these disastrous like burnout failures in the end of our like school career. Well, you did university, but
yeah.
you were kind of, I get the sense you were there sort of dancing, trying to figure out what it was that you were gonna plug into that was going to be your like rocket ship.
I switched majors about 12 times in 6 years. There's a line in
UVic?
yeah. There's a line in it's one of the Chris Farley movies, and he's like, I went to school for 6 years, and David Spade's like, yeah, normally it's called a doctor. And it's like, no, I didn't graduate, unfortunately. I didn't graduate with close to anything. I just jumped around, and I dropped out a couple times, and I didn't take well to academia, although I did well in it because I figured out how to beat it.
Did you? Were you thinking at all like I'm gonna do this? That wasn't music. Like
my number one stress in life was what the hell am I going to do with myself, and so I just went to great measures to switch my major constantly and convince everyone I knew that I was going to be a child and youth care worker or a computer science major, or for a while I thought.
And you kind of do all those things, which is cool.
I guess so. With
Yeah.
my dog, I guess I'm a good child and youth care worker.
you looked
and then
after my son the other day.
I taught him how to play tambourine.
Yeah, he makes a lot of kids.
But
I meant to
then
bring in the maracas. I forgot.
do you have an extra pair?
Well, not to give you, but I was gonna show them to you.
I would love to see them.
Yeah.
Then I thought I was going to be like an English major, and I got really into writing.
That's what I was.
Really?
Look at me. And
Well, you've made
I
it.
went to UVic too.
You've made it. You have a child, and
Yeah.
people respect you.
Look, well, right.
That's where the interview went around.
My whole deal, and I apologize, but
Apology accepted.
well, I just wish there was just more people telling the truth. Like, because the fact is that when you're a kid and you're in the school system, as far as you know, and as far as you're told, that is the most stringent truth available to you on
Right.
earth. It's like, look, you need to get filtered through the slave filter, in order to be a good, constructive member of the society. And it's like, it's so real and so true, and your teachers are morally superior to you. And here's the thing, I don't want to sound like a punk, because I loved school and I had a lot of really good teachers. I just wish somebody had told me that you don't need to peak in grade 8. You should just be sort of shuffling along till the last year or two.
Yeah,
if you want to make an impression.
Before. You felt like you gave it your all, and then went, wait, I have another 4 years.
Yeah,
to
it's
go?
like it's too much.
Yeah.
It was like,
You got to pace yourself.
yeah, you really do.
I was lucky in that sense, in that I was a C- student, and then my mom at the
right
critical
moment.
point said, you got to get your act together. And she kind of, pushed me in a wheelchair through the system just long enough to like wake up and smell the coffee. And I got some good grades and moved on. But I know what you mean. If you try too hard in grade 8, you're screwed.
Yeah, because I was staying up doing like overnights on science projects, and like I understand. What I love about it is like when you acquaint with sacrifice, it's like, oh, I get it. Like, this feels awful. I feel sick. I'm staying up late, but I got a wicked grade on my science thing. It's like, oh, I see. I understand how this works.
A kick-ass volcano that's you can ignite at any point.
This volcano, it really volcanoes.
You've got a wicked diorama that you can carry with you around for the rest of your life.
Oh, that reminds me. I want to get back, because the science project reminded me of Brian Regan's routine on science projects. I don't know if you know it, but when Ewan Curry was on this show from the Sheepdogs, he said he memorized that routine as a kid, and he performed it at his school without telling anyone it was Brian Regan's routine.
That's
Killed. Yeah. And then you were saying earlier that you memorized Seinfeld.
yeah.
Like, did you ever perform it?
I think just to my parents, just to prove that I had memorized it. No, but I didn't do it in front of school.
That was more of an intellectual. You wanted to understand it.
I can look back now with my adult understanding and go, I was genuinely fascinated by it. And I knew I needed to memorize it, but I couldn't tell you the nuts and bolts why at that time. But now I know it was like because I'd never heard anything so astounding. I needed to contain it in order to feel like it, basically readjust my cells, because I just knew like this shit was the future, and I wanted to like understand it, not peripherally. I wanted to understand it like fucking from the DNA up. So that for me,
I was like that with Dennis Leary with his stand-up CD. I just memorized it line for line, and then he went on to have a really not great career. So
Right.
More of an actor now.
Yeah, and he did Chevy commercials, did a bunch of like B-grade movies. But at one point I was with you on that. Like, it was important to memorize comedy.
You hear this with a lot of comedians. They would transcribe Saturday Night Live sketches, things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's your take on Kyle Mooney?
yeah, you're looking at a table full of people who are obsessed with Kyle Mooney.
We just came from a
Okay, well, I have
Kyle
strong
Mooney.
feelings on this. Who's Kyle Mooney? Wait, I got my computer here. I'm gonna see what
Kyle
it says.
Mooney is
Kyle Mooney. SNL. Oh, he's on Saturday Night Live.
Well,
There he is.
he is and he isn't.
I don't watch.
He's
a lot of
what do you
Saturday
call
Night
that?
Live anymore.
He's slumming. He's slumming
Yeah.
on Saturday Night Live at the moment.
He is having his career potentially ruined at the moment, but he is a genius.
Why? Why is it being potentially ruined? Because he's in the
Well,
wrong
he's a
format?
pearl among swine.
Let me ask you
he's
this.
good.
Oh my God!
What did Mark McKinney succeed on SNL?
Yeah, no. He probably had 3 lines in his 6 months there, whatever it was.
That's what he's getting, the Mark McKinney treatment, but he's a brilliant comedian.
First year on the show?
Yeah, but still, it's not like first year blues with him. It's like, no, this SNL is not the right path for him.
Yeah, because it's just too nuanced and too strange.
So you were fans of him before Saturday Night Live?
Yes, long before. I saw there's a skit he does called Guitar Convention, and it's just him interviewing people at a guitar convention. But he does a bunch of interviews. He does interviews at a baseball.
And over one of our sort of jogs, we talked about the fact that Kyle Mooney did not invent a new comedy genre. He went into a well-worn genre, but just decided to do it way better than everybody else. It's that what like
He's basically doing home movies, just being a goof, but he's such a good goof.
yeah, it's so
And
beautiful.
there's a theme running throughout all of every single character he does, which is that he's a sad, lonely loser, which we can all relate to.
So you were excited when he joined Saturday Night Live, and then you watched it and went, what the?
I'm excited.
They're not using him.
I was excited for him a little bit as a fan, like, oh, I'll get to see more Kyle Mooney, but more just as, okay, good things happen to good people.
I think that he's just a new guy. They're making him sweep up a little bit first, you know?
Right.
But it's
I hope you're
you
right.
do all the
I hope you're right
dishes.
too,
I hope
right?
you're
Because
right.
Clean the
honestly, I
toilets
think it's
and
that
then,
he's just too.
I hope you're
he's
right.
just too next level.
I mean,
He's just-
SNL is a great thing, you know, for most people's career. That
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you still watch it?
I do, yeah. People always say, I don't watch SNL anymore. So sometimes it's really funny. But
Yeah.
I've been hearing that since the 80s where people were
Yeah, I
like,
know,
don't
every
watch that
season,
anymore."
yeah.
Oh, no, it's
To
not
quote-
good
to
anymore.
quote
But then,
myself-
you know, things come up every year and people are all, you know, quoting them all the time.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
don't
like,
watch it. I just know everything about it.
Exactly, you know.
Keep going.
To quote a conversation from our jog today, which you've probably heard me talk about this already, Ryan, but everyone every year says, oh, the new cast members on SNL are not good this year, and then they end up going on to do great things. But this might be the year.
Really?
where it's
that ever-
true.
Or you've just reached that age.
Maybe. I really want to love SNL, but it's not good that year.
I don't have a TV, and I haven't had a TV in years. So for me, SNL is Wayne's World. Like that's the last era of SNL that I had any real
Oh, yeah.
intimacy with.
That's
For
good-
me, like
good era,
my
right?
big epochs, my like comedy epochs are Gervais, like that, like The Office, and then everything that he, like for me, like the extraordinary, untouchable genius. And it's funny because like I have this like bizarre little funny pyramid of like. Of sort of somewhat sort of undulating geniuses that they always shift to the top spot. For me, it's Gervais and Jay-Z. Like there's these like these minds that are like somehow it's not even untouchable. Like for me, like we were just we've all over the last couple of days just fallen over this band called Future Island, right? Future Islands or Future Island?
Plural, yeah.
Plural. So this guy who is clinically not a rock star. He's got a receding hairline and a belly that hangs over his jeans, and then he just did this performance on Letterman that is so shockingly beautiful and just lovely and shatters all of the bizarre the bizarre fixations we have on the archetypal like beauty necessity in pop music. So here we have this guy who's giving it his all, and we are obsessively watching this Letterman video over and over and over and over again.
30 times.
30 times.
In 24 hours.
And I thought, oh my God, this guy is not immortal. And then we found another performance, and he did basically the same performance. All the stuff that I had perceived as his like just
Feeling it.
just a guttural explosion was actually somewhat premeditated, and so it was nice in a way because it's like, oh, good, thank God he's human. I was under the impression he wasn't human. Why am I talking about this now?
I don't know. It's a
Gervais.
great point. You
All
were
the
saying
geniuses.
Well, there's this genius
Gervais.
like
For me, it's Coogan, but yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah,
Like, I sometimes,
Steve
like, with-
Coogan a lot. Idiot.
I know where
To
you're
me,
at.
Ricky Gervais like saw what Steve Coogan was doing and was like, "Cool, I'll do it better." But yeah, great. Don't you think? Because Alan Partridge was right before The Office,
Yeah.
UK.
It's just
There's-
uncomfortable comedy and
What's the word
uncomfortable
that
situations.
that Jenny was saying is the feeling when you feel embarrassment for someone?
Oh yeah,
Is there a German word for that?
Yeah, it starts with an F.
it's not
fervor,
fulcrum or no, it's not a fulcrum because that's what the teeter totter rides on. But like Voltron.
Voltron.
Don't do this. I can remove my arm. You can't. So play safe.
Play safe.
I don't know.
Hold it. What just happened was a great moment in radio. Kev, did you get that? Did you hear that silence?
Kev,
that just happened?
can you play that back for us?
That only happens on Comedian.
Yeah.
5 guys that don't know.
Can you sample that?
Whoa, that was comedy
it.
gold.
It was.
Whoa.
We got Mounties in studio. Ryan Dahle, Steve Bays, Hawksley Workman, and your guys are going out on tour soon. Maybe,
Yes.
if you're listening on podcast now, it's already happening or it's happened.
In a few days.
Now, Steve, I know you're starting out in our hometown, Victoria.
Yep.
You guys going to the other hometowns?
Not Regina.
Or Berks Falls.
No.
No.
Not Berks Falls, really.
We're going to Saskatoon, near my hometown.
Well, that's close. You get all your buddies.
people
I
don't-
wonder, actually, it didn't even just occur to me till now that I wonder if Victoria people will come out to the show that I know, or if it'll just be all new people.
I bet you get a combination.
No, I for me, the giddiness that I have just being buddies and musical friends with these 2 guys, I am prepared for failure to be the most glorious, euphoric experience ever. I'm not under the impression that they're oh fuck, if this doesn't work, man, this shit's gonna be whack. It's you know what? If this doesn't work, I still know it's brilliant, and I don't care.
And you said early on, you're like, I picture us whittling soapstone or something like that on our porches when maybe not soapstone, but
I just saw us as old men. My vibe with these 2 guys is we're Mounties now, who are this energetic rock band, blah blah blah, whatever. But I also see us having houses where we're there's Kahlua in our coffees and we're watering the driveway, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I sort of see as
assuming the world still exists and we
Right.
can afford houses. But yeah,
because Steven, we've been
Always the
obsessively
optimist.
we've been obsessively talking about James Love.
the world's gonna.
Yeah.
Guy, we've only got 20 years left, right?
I heard that, yeah.
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 Kev, what's your
I'm old.
20-year plan?
Well, the world is ending in 20 years, right? So I don't
Exactly.
need a plan.
No, but how are you gonna keep yourself comfortable for the next 20? Is what we're
What's your graceful
particularly in the
departure?
last 5-7 years when the ugliness is obvious and it's only a political lie that things are still the same.
Well, I'm just going to go around, and when bands are on stage, I'm going to break into their van and steal all their shit.
Oh, no.
A lot of people are ahead of that curve already.
I know.
But all of our shit's on stage, though. You're going to get the cases and shit. You're going to be the case guy.
I'm gonna go around stealing flight
Kev's end of
cases.
world, his end of world scenario is always Lynn West suspect.
You got the rider from last night.
to flight cases.
And veggie trays from last night.
He likes his cases empty. You know what used to be in this briefcase, fellas? Fucking $1 million in cash, but it's empty now, son, and it's mine, all mine.
They're at the bank. That's when I hit their briefcases hard.
He's thinking. That's good. You guys, you got 14 songs on your album. When we come to see you play, you gonna play all those 14? Are you gonna play old hits? Are you gonna play covers?
Well,
Gonna
you
do
know
some-
Mustang Sally.
Sweet.
Brown Eyed Girl.
do you have your set list written?
Yeah.
It's in the middle.
We started it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we could kind of have something to go over.
We have it typed, guy.
Tight.
What kind of operation do you think we're running here?
Written.
And you've worked on your choreography.
It's in calligraphy, actually, and
calligraphy, yeah. So, but what are we going to hear? Just those 14 and then good night, and everyone's clamoring for more.
We want the crowd to be crippled with enthusiasm.
I think they will be. How couldn't they be?
that's kind. I mean, I'm a major advocate for Mounties, and maybe because I'm such a junkie for any kind of authentic musical experience. Anybody who's I sort of feel like if you're born, and this is no slight on the Utes by any stretch, but media is this super well-oiled thing now that can make you think you're absorbing something authentic when you haven't ever really been. You know what I mean? And I sort of feel like everybody at this table that we're talking right now, including Kevin, is we're all from a time where the last sort of glimpses of what the authentic spirit in any sort of a popular cultural atmosphere, we had I sort of feel like being a guy who grew up with Michael Jackson, like, who was one of the last sort of like alien-esque extraordinary talents, much like a Prince or something, where it's like, okay, so this is what we're all shooting for. However, like, somebody's got to come down with a sword that's glowing and hit you on the head, and then you get to be that. But just mere mortals only get to us, like, just try to be that, you know? So I sort of feel with this band, though, I'm an advocate because the authenticity in it is real, and the intention is real. And I think we kind of set out with a mind of like, well, maybe we'll write a pop song, it'll be on the radio, and we'll make an extra $25 every quarter on our residuals. But what ended up happening was like
3 ways.
Right.
That did go through my head, yeah.
But meanwhile, it's just like, oh, it's actually a couple of guys who were in a almost gonna be jaded in a like no turning back kind of way, but instead had this last glimpse of like, oh, you mean you're still allowed to create music with a childlike hope and blah blah blah, and it's still allowed to be this thing that's like extraordinary, and it makes you feel the kind of wonder and passion that you thought you were not entitled to anymore as a middle-aged person.
Yeah. Well, that's...
Did the headphones, that was a bit of a hit on radio.
Yeah, we didn't really know what we were doing. In that Steve made a video for it in a night and a half, and then Hawksley tweeted it, and then the radio station called us and said, "Hey, can you play it?" So there's like nothing behind it.
Permission if they could play it.
Yeah, will you send us this song?
It was also
didn't exist online.
I did genuinely call Al Ford, who previously worked at the Victoria radio station,
right?
And then I just said, "Hey, like I should send you this."
Yeah.
And then it took off.
Yeah, and then the Peak called us and said, "Hey, can we play this?" And
it's totally not like the music business now. We can say with some experience that it is a closed thing. Like there are rules, there are protocols. It's not the 60s. It isn't just like, oh mate, you know, the Beatles just wrote a fucking lovely song, put on the radio right now, mate. Like what we did was like did a thing, and then it's on the radio, and like we're sitting around like these guys twiddling their thumbs like, oh, how did that happen? Like the business doesn't operate like that. Like you don't just get to fluke out into having a song on the radio. Like there are channels. There is like
and you bypass them.
And not only like usually you get to bypass channels in the music business because of your extraordinary beauty. I mean, it's obvious we're good-looking men, but that's just that just emanates.
You're like, I was about to insult Steve, but then
I
realized
that just emanates
gears.
That just emanates from our life confidence. Like our beauty comes from our life confidence. But you know what I'm saying? It's like a hot thing. Like, oh look how pretty. Oh look, it's on the hit parade. I don't know.
Well, I think normally this is how it works. You write a bunch of demos, your A&R guy chimes in, says, these are the ones you're going to record. And then you spend all your profits that you could potentially make from the entire album just making the album. And then you're in debt. And then there's like a team of people that kind of don't give a shit about you that decide what the single is. And then you go, why would you want that to be the single? That one sucks. Right. Like that's the worst song on the album. We put that song 10th for a reason. And
because I want Jim to think that I really know which song to pick, and I picked a strange one that's not.
That's how I justify my career. Is that choice.
Right.
And then you go forward, and it doesn't react, and then all of a sudden you're just in like a sea of like bills and. Whereas this is just kind of like, let's just like call my buddy from Victoria and. The local station and just send them an MP3 and send it one tweet about it, and
it's old school.
That's the way it should be. Though.
Yeah, it is old school because that's how it used to work. I mean, we called Much Music back in the day and said, "Hey, we have this video that we shot on 16mm film. You know, would you want to play it? Can I send it to you?" You know, that's how it could work back then.
And
I think it's always, you know, it'll always be there a little bit where people like actually react to things for the proper reason.
Yeah,
and then there'll be like this whole huge ocean of people trying to get their, you know, properly made, properly recorded, you know, proper pop songs played at the proper station through the proper channels. And, you know, I guess that's what I've never been interested in, any of that stuff.
And there are great proper songs like Miley Cyrus, we can't
If
stop.
I could save time in a bottle.
Jim Croce.
Right.
So did the success of that Headphones single, I guess it was a single, is that what drove the album? And we realized, hey, we got some here? Or?
No, we'd recorded I guess we'd done about 30 songs in the first week. And then, but basically mixed down 10, 11. We had 11 songs mixed, kind of roughly. And Headphones was sort of like one of about 3 of the ones that were kind of finished, finished. But we had about 10 or 11 songs that were like, these are done, but just not mixed. So the album was almost done when that song started doing well.
Okay.
And then we did another week.
Made you feel pretty good, like. Here, it's accepted. People love it. Now we're gonna go forth with gusto on the rest of the album.
Sure, yeah.
I think it definitely
put a bit of wind
as a
in
bit
it.
of a road sign for us. It was like
We're kind of surprised, yeah.
And a roadblock as well, though, in that all the rest of the songs didn't sound like Headphones. So it was kind of like...
So then we were worried. Like, did we just write one song?
It wasn't worry for me. It was more... I need to just... Like, I want to feel like the other songs are justified in not sounding anything like that one. Which I feel like they are.
Yeah, and now that the other songs are being... You know, they're becoming people's favorites or whatever. This one's their favorite or that one's this person's favorite. Then we realized, okay, we didn't just write one song. We wrote a whole bunch of songs that are all different, and they all continue to be different. Every time we write a song, it seems to be like not fitting into the template of the last one that we wrote. So we're totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. I don't need to plug into like a demographic or whatever. You know, like this is what kind of band.
Yeah, you're all
I knew that
Yeah.
I knew that we were like not gonna make it. Right?
Well, now you have. Now you
said I
have.
wanted 17-year-old tennis players to be our fans. And now you go on radio publicly stating...
I like the choir version of Headphones.
So heavy.
So weird. Hey?
You've done your research.
Well, we're living in a funny time where like
We should just say, by the way, that there's a YouTube video of a choir somewhere.
in Montreal.
Montreal, there you go.
The Pop Tones.
The Pop Tones,
Yep.
an adult choir, and they recorded a version, all voices, and I guess
Which
drums
is
and-
such an
was-
honor.
Yeah, it was great.
It's huge. The thing with, art in popular culture is that you make a thing, and that thing is like the ball in a pinball game, right? And so you shoot your thing out into the world, and then it bounces off of all the things. And everything it bounces off of, it like either bounces off of like officially not affecting the ear that it bounced off of, or then it bounces off of an ear that is officially moved by the thing you made, right? And what's strange is in this modernity, we can see the bounce off effect online in form of YouTube or whatever. So it's like we write a song called Headphones, and then we see this choir singing it like literally within a weeks or months later. And art, in a way, the information sort of self-servicing circle would have been like a longer, slower, more arduous thing. Whereas now, like you can like that reaction happens much more swiftly, and it's funny and it's cool in that way. And it's like, wow, Headphones is covered by this cool, like strange little.
They could work a little harder on it, I think. I mean, like, Bob Dylan wrote, All Along the Watchtower, and then on a Friday it came out, and then by Monday, Hendrix was playing it. So,
Right.
so I'm not super honored by
Was it
that
really?
particular
Because-
performance, but,
But I guess I
That
think
they were drawn to do it.
it's true.
Well,
it's cool, yeah.
it's an honor that number of people sat down and learned it. But I think
It is, yeah.
you would like the drums not to be V drums,
Totally.
is the bottom line.
Yeah.
I'm getting a sense here that Ryan is the one who has the differing opinions.
Oh, no, not really.
Well, I mean,
No, we all.
you don't like Hall & Oates. You weren't thrilled with the choir. You don't go running or jogging with these two.
I'm just being difficult right now.
Yeah.
No, but he would be jogging with us if he lived in the neighborhood.
I'm on the other side of town.
In Vancouver, the difference between Mount Pleasant and the West End is like the difference between Brooklyn and Chicago. Like it is
Yeah.
a
the other
trek.
thing that one of the things that I really cherish about Rye is that he came from this musical brotherhood and learned a devout, like, reverential system of respecting one's elders. And the thing I love about Rye is that his oldest brother, Brad, yeah, was the guy who disseminated like musical wisdom amongst the brothers, Kurt and Rye, two guys who would actually be turned into guys who made their living playing music, and not just like made their living, but became these like exceptional humans who contributed something like absolutely essential to the culture at the time. Like Ryan and his bands, and Kurt, I mean, Kurt's drumming has effect. It's a big deal. So anyways, so he's the reverential guy. Whenever Steve and I are getting like saucy and glib, it's like about like, oh, fuck that or fuck this. Rye's like sense of being reverential to the natural order of things, and like a sort of a punk sense of like always acknowledging one's elders, acknowledging where you came from, where you're going via the humans who got you there. Like that's how your system works. And so, whereas I think sometimes
those are kind words, I think.
No, well, sometimes I think Steve and I don't know. I know I won't even speak for you. For me,
no, you can't.
I can obsess in dalliances, whereas with Rye, it's a lot more like official. It's like, shit is either fucking for real or fucking not for real, and it's either follows in the fucking playbook of rules or it doesn't. And I really get off on that you have this a structure that is like, it's an absolutist approach where it's like you either get into the game because you've earned the ticket, or you just stand outside looking through the window with your breath sort of making fog on the window because you didn't earn your way in.
He's got integrity.
Wow.
Well, thanks, guys.
All of a sudden, you just defined integrity. YouTube clip in reverse order.
Ryan, you said that you described that choir as weird, or the version. Have you guys had experiences with other bands doing covers of your various groups or songs that you've just gone, wow?
I mean, when Tea Party did Headphones, it was.
I've never had an experience where someone's covered my music and I've gone, wow, this is better than the original.
Right, or just, I didn't expect that.
Right, but I've always been honored in that you assume pop culture is something that you observe and do not necessarily
You're not a part of,
to.
Yeah.
Which is the big conspiracy, because when you go through
conspiracies,
the meat blender of school, you are led to believe that great things happen as it's an external force, that somehow a miracle happens and somebody with a bright idea of their own like brings it to the world from a mountain on high. And the idea that exceptional thinking could happen amongst friends is almost weeded out of you early, and that's one of the really, really sad things. Like, the fact is that if innovative thinking was invited into what we see as like this culturally accepted educational system, that we would have a society of rebels who were busy trying to change things to make them better. But society is more interested in folks happy to cup the balls of a sociopathic leader who is saying that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Even I, like when I meet a genuine rebel.
Bravo. That's good.
Yeah. Won't top it now.
Go, Steve.
But what were you gonna say, Steve? Sorry.
Your first instinct is, okay, this clown's a pain in the ass. Until he's actually made an impact. Yeah. Whether it's with music or politics or comedy. But
anyone
your
who's
first
a little different.
Yeah, your first instinct is get this guy away from me because it's annoying.
I mean, the common thought, like there's too much common thinking, you know, like somebody said this about somebody or in the media, and that's the way it is now, you know, like the first person to review something and the first comment on the thing is like, this is great or this sucks, and everybody just thinks that way,
Yeah.
you know, and that's
It's even worse
people should
now,
think that
isn't it?
for
It
themselves.
is.
Oh my god!
I was just thinking as you were
I mean,
saying
it
that,
must have
Ryan,
always been that way, but it's way more.
the
noticeable.
internet was supposed to add diversity. It took that suspicion, like, oh, it feels like everyone's into this Lady Gaga track. It's like, no, 500 million people are into it, idiot.
yeah.
Okay, I guess I should be into it.
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking about right now is the thing that when I feel sad to be alive, it's this shit. Like it's humans sort of operating on de facto terms with convention that is in and of itself like a manufactured fib that like any rational person should have been born with the faculties to like go have the bullshit meter go off like on a scale of 5. Like, so why I don't understand why sometimes we're all dealing with non-actualisms that we've already solved. Like human history as strangely like short as it is in terms of like physical history on the earth, like you'd think with a couple thousand years, yeah, we'd be able to figure some shit out, but like we don't. Like, and to me it's bizarre.
The rustiness of the bullshit meter right now is at an all-time.
And it's being played with in this way where we have been inundated with this group porn of like self-actualized technological interfacing, which has somehow like made us feel like we are achieving greater things than we actually are, and we're achieving nothing great. Downloading an app and then sending a Viber message, as much as we love that, we love it. Actually, yours
Bad
are artful.
example.
It is bad, but I wanted to grab for something easy because that's my human nature. But
Viber has these animated messages, so you put your voice to
I
it.
guess
and
I just
Oh,
want to
really?
make. I just like
Send me one.
we should never
I love that. That's where I draw the line. It's like,
authenticity. Whoa. Our authenticity should never be obscured with,
you know what?
with this paper thin thing, whatever it is.
You know what scares me is that there's so much confidence behind bullshit. Like it's one thing to be like, this is my opinion or this is fact, and then someone says something that is the opposite of that, and you go, oh yeah, maybe you're right. You know, like I approach everything like I'm a total idiot. And it's people that approach things like they're not idiots or they're
here.
not
Like
clowns.
they just know, yeah.
It's true.
That's what scares me.
That's true. Like the best
We're all
audio
idiots.
engineers I know are all guys like, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I'm stupid, you know?
Let's just figure it out.
Those are the best audio engineer guys that I know. They just have that approach. And then you meet all these kids that, you know, become audio engineers and they know everything.
Right.
Like, well, yeah, this is the way it's done. Honestly.
Yeah, it's that group think that you're talking about. It could help you in some ways because if you guys get a couple good reviews, then everybody just says, wow, this band is great.
Yeah, that'd be great if
Right?
people just automatically. It's
Automatically.
like, oh, no, you have to go because they're great. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, but that's the way it is, right?
So, yeah, you live by it and you die by it. And you guys are living by it. Hey, did you guys pay Pharrell Williams to wear that Mountie hat? So
Yep,
that
40
people
grand.
would Google it and then come along to your website?
Yeah, he looked pretty
We also
authentic.
paid Robin Thicke to stick his finger up some stranger chick's ass.
What did that do to you? You just wanted to see that?
You know, I don't feel like we earned that $40 back.
And we've gone way over time. But Hawksley, you worked with, I don't know if you got to meet her, but did you? Olivia Newton-John?
Did you?
I was in the room with her, but I never like.
You didn't talk
pressed,
to her?
I never.
Pressed your body against hers?
No. I
OMJ.
definitely masturbated to the album version of Let's Get Physical. My dad had the whole album. It was a double gatefold, and it was like.
Did you tell her that?
It was no. I didn't even talk to her, but she had a wet T-shirt on. It was like a big deal.
Back in the...
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
wet T-shirts are still a big deal, I think.
I never understood
I'm
the
not
wet
sure.
T-shirt thing.
Oh, you have
They are to me, yeah.
I mean, mine T-shirt's
yeah,
sort of
I
wet
don't see
now.
many of them anymore.
I always thought, like, why do you need to see a wet T-shirt? Like,
What
use
I
your
would-
imagination. Like,
what I love
what's-
is that, like, one of what
Like, how hard is it to imagine?
What would be great for
It's
these
real,
like
though.
for these like asexual like Earth historians to go, well, in the 21st century, they stopped understanding wet T-shirts. I think it was a great moment in history. Like, it was like wet T-shirts. All of a sudden, be like, I don't understand. What?
There was a turning point where official beaver inspector no longer held weight.
Old Fart. I'm with old Fart's wife. These T-shirts suddenly became difficult to understand.
2018 was a great year.
You guys are also playing Squamish Fest, is that right?
Yeah.
Who are you looking forward to seeing? Are you guys like, do you geek out on getting to see
We're gonna
certain
play
bands?
the whole weekend.
We're such a
Portishead, Police.
we're such a Canadian band that I try and convince myself
David Lee
that
Roth
we're
solo.
actually a international band and not just a Canadian band. But then when the highlight of your summer is playing Squamish Fest, like just the word Squamish, I know it. There's like world class acts and
Somehow, the thing is, when I tour England,
Exciting.
it's exciting, but I want the word to be less Canadian.
it's so funny.
And I shouldn't be saying that. I'm in
'Cause
a
you're
band
back
called
on Mounties.
Hey, but Washington has Snohomish.
Yeah, I guess so. It feels so Canadian.
I guess when I
Beyond my
look at
comfort
the
zone.
empirical outposts,
But I'm excited to be there.
Our beloved Queen has reign over. I spend a lot of time in Australia, and it'd be like going to Kalungagunda Fest in like Australia.
There you go.
And these are all like these are like terms that come from the native peoples from these lands, but like it's definitely when you're a songwriter, you always with words. You see them. I horror words because words are things that have the potentiality of existing in a song, right? So you always are looking at words in their like relative poetic potential, you know. And definitely like Squamish doesn't. Maybe
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
I guess that the amount of time I spend in England, and especially in British trains, it's like next stop is Leatherhead. Next stop, and it's like Leatherhead. Are you joking? Why does it sound
Amazing.
sexier
Wolverhampton.
than like Katoomba in Australia or Squamish in Canada? Why do the British get like the angle on like sexy, weird, like colloquials? It's just weird. It's like, and the next stop, you know,
Yeah, playing Versailles is different than playing Squamish.
why is that?
I'm excited about it.
It's a
No,
language.
I'm
You're just
super.
hung up on the name.
No. I'm just talking about a boot.
A boot.
A boot. Yeah. I don't know. It's. I'm excited. I'm excited that we're the second biggest font. Like I'm tripping on that more
Oh
than I
yeah.
am on.
Who's the first?
Second biggest font.
Who's the biggest font? Who's the biggest font you ever worked with?
Christopher Cross.
What? Christopher Cross? He's still alive?
I remember when the other Chris Cross came out, I was kind of mad. Like, they can't take his name.
I know.
As Mag is like, come on, pants have been around for a long while. Like, don't fuck with pants. Like, put them on. Yeah, like just.
I remember
put
the
them on
day,
the right way.
the day that I walked to school and there was multiple guys. I was in a band with a really cool guy. It's a horrible drummer, but he was cool, and I was willing to be in a band with him because of that. And he wore his pants backwards to school.
Wow.
And it was a big deal.
And did they do up? Like you had to reach behind them?
I didn't. Like,
You know his
It
mom
doesn't
helped
count
him.
if they're
That's
rugby
what's
pants.
that's what's so sad.
Yeah,
His
he had
mom
the-
helped
he had
him.
the
Like,
shit
it's like,
his
that
mom
day,
also
that's why.
probably lent him
why
a
he
couple
had-
smokes as well that day. If you
one
know
of
what I
those
mean.
moms.
Yeah, he was the kind of guy that like showed up and he smelled like he had smoked 2 packs before.
So there was this.
breakfast.
We had a bingo hall near our house, and in the summers it would really get busy. And there's this family that was super. You could just tell there's an energy coming off from it. All the locals were feeling really weird, and the mom would yell at the kid to go get cigarettes and chips, and then the oldest brother was smoking 2 cigarettes at a time while we were playing bingo. And like, can you just imagine that? And then the mom in the bingo in our rural bingo hall.
How old was the kid?
I don't know. He maybe was 12 and smoking
Yeah,
two
that's
cigarettes.
right.
Why would you
That's
smoke
We
right.
probably
two at
had
a time?
multiple cards, right? This is when they have like 6 cards.
You're playing a lot of cards.
So if you're playing a lot of cards, you
stress.
get an extra cigarette. Like
Yeah,
for, I think for
exactly.
every
He's-
3
he
cards.
may have been a
And
futurist.
what was crazy? Yeah, he may well have been, Steve.
He knew that cigarettes would go way up in value eventually, and this.
I
is just,
love, yeah, exactly.
It's like burning oil.
And so the mother, who was not a local, was a holidayer, she felt the heat of judgment from the locals because we were all like noticing, like, wow, like you're bossing your youngest daughter around to go buy you cigarettes and chips, and the older son somehow gets a pass and he smokes 2 cigarettes at once. And then she stood up during bingo and shouted at everybody in the room that we weren't the boss of her. She was the boss of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you feel that critical eye and the heat of it on your shoulder. Like, you rebel. And so you're playing bingo, you brought your kids, you had your youngest daughter for getting chips and cigarettes and also programming the VCR time, right? So it stops flashing. And then then your oldest son is there for smoking and potential bingo wins. And you just assess life on different terms, especially if you're in a foreign place. We grew up in the sticks. We had our own code of behavior. It just didn't match. And we weren't judging. It was just a surprise to us. But she thought we were judging, and so that's why she lashed out.
You probably were judging now.
No.
No?
It was just a
It's
surprise.
Yeah. But you would never see that these days, even in the small town.
Even
would you?
even at blackout bingo, you wouldn't.
I'm
No.
There is a bingo palace on Main Street. Is that still there?
I went there recently. Yeah. I actually have a T-shirt.
Oh,
You got some
These are-
merch.
see some
You got
merch
some
there.
bingo merch.
I don't want to sully the bingo name by calling it merch, but
BINGO.
yeah, good stuff going on there.
yeah,
It's
well, you
almost
grew
1
up
in
in
the morning,
I
though.
know we're about to wrap up. You grew up in the 40s, though, so that kids were smoking then.
Smoking. You know what?
Doctors
I didn't-
recommend
I didn't
2 a
just-
day.
I didn't grow up in the 40s, but I did grow up in the rurals. And
it's like the 40s.
similar.
Yeah.
And here's my one little quip is that a note went home. In grade 3, we switched from the old school, which turned into apartments for our little town, into a new school, which the premier came in to cut the ribbon. And there was a whole newness of spirit. Like, it was like this feeling like our potential was infinite. It's beautiful. And that's what happens when it's 1983. And what was cool is once parents realize that the potential is infinite, they start doing things that are infinite. They even pack lunches that are infinite. And then a note had to go home with the students saying that near beer wasn't allowed at school. So to keep near beer out of kids' lunches.
What was their problem with near beer?
Is that it's so near to beer? I guess.
0.05. Yeah. Hey, I just looked up the Squamish Fest lineup, by the way. Tons of.
It's
Have
crazy,
you
right?
been there before?
It's
Crazy,
amazing.
yeah.
You've
I mean,
played.
Boz
Squamish?
Skaggs
No,
is
I've never
on,
been
which
there.
is
Wait
nuts.
a second. Is
Toto is coming back, which is fucking nuts.
So listen, Eminem, Arcade Fire, Arctic Monkeys.
I've never heard of none of them guys.
The Roots.
Yeah, whatever. Journey's back. Ozark Mountain Daredevils. This is
Styx
crazy.
is
This year
doing
on
an
Squamish is
acoustic
going to be
set.
fucking
The
nuts.
Styx acoustic set in that tent. It's gonna be.
Flock of Seagulls.
Pete Tong.
Who? Like, what is wild
Duran
is,
Duran?
well, I mean, Bananarama and
The Fun Boy.
honestly,
Three.
and Baltimora. I mean, I haven't heard Tarzan Boy in years, and I'm just so geeked.
I can't believe Fat Boys are doing crushing start to finish, and there's only one of them still alive.
Guys, it's been a blast. You know, it's almost 1, as you said, but we put our clocks ahead an hour last night, and so it's
So what does
like,
that mean? It's actually 6 in the morning.
I'm on
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
all on Ontario time is the weird thing. So this is really late.
Well, Mounties, it's been a pleasure having you here. Ryan Dahle, Steve Bays, Hawksley Workman.
Oh, this is backup music.
Yeah, that's good. That's Hawksley Workman playing the piano. And he's a drummer. Keep that in mind. Yeah, so this was your first sort of podcasty type thing, even though we're on the radio.
Yeah.
And you promised it'll be your last, right?
That's a promise.
Just to keep it unique. Yeah, just so that this one
make
was.
that promise now, actually, but we did. So
So you got to. So
I
anyway.
want to do this every Sunday. Are
Come
you
on
kidding?
by.
Yeah.
Next week we've got John Cullen, who is not only a stand-up comic, he's a
Sean?
No,
Oh.
John,
from New Pornos.
and he's also a very good curler and a substitute teacher. So there you go. Next Sunday night at 11 o'clock.
See you
Guys, thanks so much.
And he doesn't sleep with his students.
He does not, for the record.
FYI. So whatever you may read in the next week, ignore it.
Go buy the Mounties record. Support them. No, don't support them. Buy it because it's
wicked. It's fucking
wicked and
unreal.
great.
You know what?
Go see them on tour.
Do whatever you want. Just, I don't care.
No, I don't care.
Whatever.
Hey, support whatever you want. We don't care. Hey, support is like an orthotic.
Good night.